If you've spent any time on sewing Instagram lately, you've probably noticed the same machines showing up over and over again. One creator is making custom denim jackets, another is quilting something that looks impossible, and somehow they all seem to be using the same handful of sewing machines. But here's the interesting part: not every machine going viral online actually deserves the hype. Some are genuinely amazing. Some are popular just because they look aesthetic on camera. And one machine on this list is so loved that people refuse to replace it even after decades of use. So today, we are counting down 5 sewing machines that are absolutely dominating Instagram right now, and whether they were actually worth paying attention to. And before we start, I want to know something. What sewing machine are you currently using right now? Drop the model in the comments because I already know people are going to defend their favorites under this video. Also, let me know where you re-watching from because sewing communities are completely different depending on the country, and honestly, that's always fascinating to see. Now, don't skip ahead because the number one machine is probably not what you were expecting. The Singer Quantum Stylus 9960 is basically the overachiever of the sewing world. This machine has exploded online because it feels like it can do almost everything. Every time you open Instagram, somebody is using it for quilting, somebody else is sewing dresses, and another creator is adding decorative stitching that honestly looks way too advanced for a home machine. And the craziest part is, it's actually pretty approachable once you get used to it. One reason creators love showing this machine online is because it has so many built-in stitch options. You can customize projects in ways that make videos look instantly more impressive, which obviously works perfectly for Instagram content. It also helps that the machine just looks serious. The second people see all those buttons and stitch settings, they immediately assume the creator knows exactly what they were doing. Now, performance-wise, the 9960 earns a lot of the praise it gets. It handles fabric smoothly, the automatic threading saves time, and people constantly mention how much easier it makes larger projects feel. But I will say this: if you are a complete beginner, this machine can feel slightly intimidating at first. There's a learning curve simply because there's so much happening on the interface. Still, people who stick with it usually become obsessed with it. And honestly, if you own this machine already, I need to know something. Did you actually use all those stitch settings, or do you secretly use the same 5 every single time? But speaking of beginner-friendly machines, the next one became viral for almost the opposite reason. The Brother CS7000X might actually be the most recommended beginner sewing machine on social media right now. And after watching dozens of creators use it, it's pretty obvious why. This machine removes a lot of the frustration that normally scares people away from sewing. The controls are simple, the LCD screen is easy to understand, and the speed control slider alone has probably saved thousands of beginners from accidental chaos. You can literally see people gain confidence while using it in their videos. That's why this machine spreads so fast online. One beginner posts their first successful tote bag project, then somebody else buys the same machine, then another person posts their first clothing repair, and suddenly the algorithm decides everyone needs a Brother CS7000X. And honestly, it's kind of deserved. The machine feels beginner friendly without feeling cheap. That's important because a lot of starter sewing machines end up getting abandoned after a few months. This one usually sticks around longer because people can actually grow with it. Now, if you start working with really thick materials like layered denim or upholstery fabric, you will notice its limitations a little more. It's capable, but it's not exactly built like a tank. Still, for everyday sewing projects, this thing absolutely dominates social media recommendations. And I already know there are people watching this right now who started sewing because of this exact machine. So be honest in the comments, what was the very first thing you ever made on a sewing machine? Most people say pillowcases or tote bags, but there are always a few wild answers. Now, the next machine on this list is completely different because this one is trending for affordability. It's trending because people are obsessed with luxury sewing setups. The Bernina 475 QE is one of those sewing machines that instantly changes how people look at your setup online. The second this machine appears in a sewing reel, people start asking questions. What model is that? How much did that cost? Okay, wait, why does that stitch quality look so clean? And honestly, the hype makes sense. Bernina machines have a reputation for precision that borders on ridiculous. People who own them talk about them the way car enthusiasts talk about luxury sports cars, especially quilters. Quilters on Instagram absolutely love this machine because of how smooth and accurate it feels during detailed work. The stitching looks incredibly polished, difficult fabrics feed beautifully, and the overall sewing experience just feels premium. That's the word people keep using. Premium. And once creators upgrade to a Bernina, they suddenly start making videos about how they finally understand the hype. That alone keeps fueling the machine's popularity online. But let's address the obvious issue here. This machine is expensive. Like, expensive enough that people often spend weeks watching review videos before convincing themselves to buy it. And honestly, I am curious about this one. Would you ever spend luxury level money on a sewing machine? Or Is there a limit where you were like, yeah, no, absolutely not? I feel like the comments are going to be split right down the middle on this. Still, as impressive as the Bernina is, the next machine became popular because it almost the complete opposite. No flashy luxury image, just pure reliability. The Genome HD 3000 has quietly built one of the strongest reputations in the sewing world because this machine simply refuses to act fragile. While a lot of modern machines focus heavily on features and touchscreens, the HD 3000 became popular online because people are tired of machines that struggle with thicker fabrics. This thing powers through material like it has anger issues. Seriously, you will see creators sewing heavy canvas, thick denim, layered quilts, and upholstery. Projects without the machine sounding like it's about to give up halfway through. And viewers notice that immediately. There's something weirdly satisfying about watching a machine handle difficult fabric effortlessly. Those clips always perform well because people know how frustrating sewing thick material can be on weaker machines. What also makes the HD 3000 stand out is the simplicity. It does to overwhelm you with hundreds of unnecessary settings. It focuses on strong performance, durability, and consistency instead. That's why experienced sewists constantly recommend it online. And honestly, there's a good chance somebody watching this video owns a Genome that's older than Instagram itself and still works perfectly fine. That kind of long-term reliability matters. Now, if you love decorative stitching and computerized features, this machine might feel a little too straightforward for you. But for practical sewing, people absolutely swear by it. Still, none of these machines generate the level of obsession that the number one pick does. Because this next machine is just trending. It's legendary. The Singer Featherweight 21 might be the most loved vintage sewing machine on the internet right now. And yes, people are still obsessing over a machine originally made decades ago. If you've seen sewing creators showing off gorgeous black machines with gold detailing, there is a very good chance it was a featherweight. These machines have become social media gold because they combine three things people online absolutely love: vintage aesthetics, craftsmanship, and nostalgia. But here's the crazy part. People aren't just collecting these machines for decoration. They actively sew on them every single day. That's what surprises newer sewists the most. Even now, creators constantly praise the stitch quality, the smooth operation, and the overall reliability. Some owners genuinely prefer sewing on these over modern computerized machines. That says a lot. And because every featherweight has history behind it, the emotional connection feels stronger too. Some people inherited theirs from grandparents. Others spent months restoring them back to life. Those stories make the machines feel personal instead of disposable. Instagram absolutely eats that up. Now, obviously, this machine is for everyone. You want get touchscreens, embroidery functions, or hundreds of decorative stitches. It's simple. Very simple. But somehow that simplicity became part of the appeal. And honestly, I think that's why people love it so much. In a world full of complicated machines, packed with endless features, the featherweight reminds people that great sewing really comes down to skill and creativity more than anything else. And I have to ask, if someone offered you a perfectly restored featherweight tomorrow, would you actually use it? Or would you be too scared to touch it? Because I genuinely think half the comments are going to say they deframe it like artwork. So those are the 5 sewing machines absolutely taking over Instagram right now. Some are perfect for beginners, some are dream upgrade machines, and one of them somehow became more popular decades after it was originally released. Now I want to hear your rankings. Which machine on this list would you actually buy? And which one do you think is getting way too much hype online? Drop your opinions in the comments because sewing people never agree on machines, and honestly, it's part of the fun. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe because we've got more sewing, crafting, and creator favorite roundups coming soon.